me today at the Rockpit is Kram from Spiderbait, and it's an extreme pleasure to talk to you today, Kram, ahead of the
Oh, thanks.
festival, which kicks off this weekend. How are you, mate?
Thanks a lot, man. That's great. Really good. Yeah, looking forward to these shows heaps. I think it's going to be a really fun festival. So yeah, we can't wait. And the first one is it's this Saturday, so it's come up really quick.
Mm. It has. So for the next month, you're traipsing around the country, and it all finishes back in Victoria. I think on the 23rd of March.
Hmm.
Uh, First show being in Queensland. I think it's this weekend.
Yeah. It's we're kind of feeling really good about this festival, partially because it's just a bunch of friends all playing together. Most of the bands we all know. Um, and we've played with many times. So looking forward to that social side of things. But I think the audiences, if the past is any reflection, seem to respond to that as well. And I'm actually really happy the Veronicas are on as well, just to throw something completely different into the mix. I think that'll be really cool. So yeah, we're excited to play, but at the same time, looking forward to the fun of hanging out with everyone as well.
When was the last time Spiderbait did a run like this?
I think, well, we did the last Lookout Festival, which was only a year ago, but that was, I think, slightly different setup because that was with Queens of the Stone Age and the Chats and Pond. So it was a bit of a different mixture of bands, but we loved that too. I know the Pond guys and Chats guys really well, and they were both fantastic to play with. And had a couple of good yarns to the Queens of the Stone Age guys as well, and they were sick. So it's interesting. So I guess this year they've gone for this, a very much a '90s band kind of space, with a few exceptions. But yeah, the guys at Lookout guys are really nice, and we were more than happy to play the show, play the same festival again, even though it's a different lineup.
So your memories, I guess, of doing things like Livid Festival and all of those sorts of things, the pinnacle of, I guess, of Australian festivals. Uh,
Mm.
I mean, what fond memories do you share from those, and how do you think this time around is going to be different for you all?
Well, I think this sort of retrospective lineup as a festival force in recent years was really started out by Down the Green ages ago. And we first did that first one with, I think that was with Something for Kate and the Meanies and UMI. And I think there was some speculation as to how that would go. And it was absolutely gangbusters. And I remember that time feeling like, I think it was the New South Wales show, and the place where it was situated was this huge natural amphitheater, and the crowd just kept going, and I was just like, this is just like the Big Day Out used to be. So it's interesting that for some reason this era of bands, of which I'm very happy to be a part of, has some sort of effect on the audience of that era as well. And it's I think maybe since then these types of shows, which we've done heaps of them, like with Living End and other groups. There was one we did a while ago that even had Lemonheads on it and Veruca Salt, so it had that American flavor. And I was very humbled to find out that Evan Dando was a big fan of ours, and Veruca Salt as well. And Veruca Salt and the girls loved Janet and did a lot of hanging out. So I think Tumbleweed were on that tour as well. So there's something about these types of shows for us, even though we do play a lot of other shows, not necessarily with this type of group, that maybe do hark back to this era of festivals. I can remember the first Livid we did, and the early Big Day Outs, and early Splendor in the Grass shows as well. And it was just like you felt like you were part of something mad, and you were very surprised that it ever got to that point. Because I think for a lot of our era of bands, we were very happy just to play in clubs and pubs and be punk rockers and, try to go against the grain of what the mainstream was doing. So to end up, I guess, as part of that mainstream musical, painting that it is now, and still, I guess, retain that, I guess, the element of the attitude that was from that time on such a big scale. It's a really awesome thing. So we we are another example, I think, of that. Just really enjoying playing big shows like this, but also when the time does come around with these types of lineups, we really think it's really awesome.
If we throw back to the festival that you just talked about before, the one with Veruca Salt and I actually saw that tour in Tassie at that stage. I was living in Tasmania, and remember seeing that and being blown away by, you know, how solid a bill that all was.
Yeah.
That was one of the first shows that you guys had sort of come back, or one of the first major tours, I think, that you guys had come back on after a bit of a hiatus, wasn't it?
I think so. I think the one prior to that, which was the Meanies, You and My, Some Invocate one, was probably the first one, but the one you're referring to with Lemonheads and Veruca Salt, I think Living End were on that as well. And yeah, it was great for everyone. I really did feel the same sense of enthusiasm from the American bands, who Australia had always been a really great place for them to tour. I'm not sure about Evan so much, but I know that the girls in Veruca Salt were like, "Oh, we haven't played here for years," and they were blown away at the response. And so I think that lineup in particular was really strong. And it's weird if I think you inevitably, if you're in a band for a long time, you're always going to take time away, and then sometimes you're not sure what the future will hold for you. But I think our live performances, I guess, has done such a big thing for maintaining our level of success, because we just enjoy it so much, and the crowd does as well. So even despite the success that Black Betty's had all around the world and all of that, having a big hit, it still seems to be people love to come and see you play and be part of that festival audience. And I think it's going along as strong as ever. It's really trippy. Like, there's so many great shows, but sadly there's been a few fall by the wayside. I know we did Groove in the Moo, I think two years ago, and which turned out to be the last one. And we were just really blown away by a much, much younger crowd, I think, than, some of the other festivals we'd played. And there were heaps of people coming to see us. And a friend of mine was coming to that show. And at the time, she was only 19. And she was like, "Lots of my friends are coming to see you because they've never seen you before." So there's this, and we've found this element in the last few years of this new generation of fans who want to come and see us. We did find that on the Black Betty tour last year as well. So it's great fun to know there's new fans who want to come out and see you play, and it's great fun to feel like between the three of us, we're enjoying playing more than ever.
Yeah, it's funny how it's great how you talk about the new generation that's coming out to see you guys.
Yeah.
My son, who's just about to turn 21, he's been coming to gigs with me for years and years now. But I mean, one of his biggest bucket lists, you'll have to excuse my voice.
That's right.
One of his biggest bucket lists was to see Greenspoon live. So, I have footage of him on a friend's shoulders at a show they did in Tassie, just having the time of his life. And you guys are another one of those bands too, because, the success of Black Betty all being at a cover actually opened up a door for him to go backwards with you guys as well, to discover a catalogue. And I think that's so important too. What's the future hold for Spiderbait? I mean, is there new music? Are we looking at another go round beyond this?
Well, we're in an interesting position, because I think once you've been together for such a long time, you never quite know what's around the corner. So I decided a couple of years ago, actually it was far back as during COVID, I started writing songs for the new record. And I was very focused on the style of song I wanted to write, because, it had been a long time since our last record. And prior to that, it had been a long time for a band who really enjoys playing live and loves each other. It does take us a long time to make records sometimes, especially in recent years. So we were like, I'm just like, I've got to write a bunch of songs, and I think it's important to sort of try and put out a new thing, at least another record, even if it's just for the fans, but also for ourselves while we're still, able to do it. And so I started working on these songs, and then everyone really liked them. And so then we sort of after COVID and all the other shit that went down, we eventually had a session with Frank Titaz, who produced our last record, who's since moved back from LA and moved to back to Melbourne with his family. And we love Frank, and we did a great session with him, but we didn't quite get it finished. And then he does a lot of film scores now and couldn't really fit us into, and we weren't quite sure what we were doing with it. So I ended up doing a bunch of sessions with who was the assistant in that session at the time, which is another great Australian producer by the name of Bonnie Knight. Bonnie just recently won, I think, Best Alternative Album or Best Independent Producer Award or something. And I've been working with Bonnie for like the past year, not just on this project, but on another project with another singer as well that I'm doing. But just found like gradually, incrementally, sort of writing more music, adding to this stuff bit by bit. And then eventually it was like, okay, showed it stuff to Whit. He's like, I really like these tunes. And then we did a session with Bonnie. So we're really on the way to making this new record. I think that's, been a long time coming, but the songs sound really, really awesome. So we've got a bit of work to do on Janet's stuff because she's working on some solo things at the moment, which is awesome. But I think it's looking like everyone's agreed, and the label and all of that stuff, on releasing a new record next year. And I think it's we're really happy that it's finally happening.
Excellent. Well, that's great news for all fans. So, and I mean, you yourself, you're a busy man. You're always seem to have a project on the burn, with something happening, whether it be one of the rock review type shows that you do. How important is variety in what you do to you and your creativity?
Oh, it's huge. It's like, so if I give you the rundown, so ARC's doing, I think we did Led Zeppelin 4 last year, which was a huge revelation for me because I decided I had to lead sing the whole show. I couldn't drum and sing. Like, doing Robert Plant's hard enough without trying to do John Bonham at the same fucking time, man. It's crazy. So we got Pete Marin in, and it was awesome. I just had the best time, obviously singing all this amazing music that I love, but just gave me a lot of confidence as an ability to do a show up the front, a big 2-hour show, whether it be something like that or your own stuff. So that was a big thing. So this year we're going to do, we're doing Wish You Were Here again. We're going to do Dark Side of the Moon again, because we loved that record and it was such a successful tour. We didn't get a chance to do it again, but 50th anniversary of Wish You Were Here, which is one of my favorite albums, we're doing that. But I guess the reason I'm telling you this was from the perspective of the ARC projects. It's been really interesting to be outside of the normal confines of what Spiderbait is and discover new sides of yourself, whether it's doing an acoustic tune. I remember we did a Beatles show and I did a version of Working Class Hero with John Lennon's song, and it was epic. It was awesome. I just could really feel it. So I would never do that in a Spiderbait context, as much as, all of us love the Beatles and John Lennon. And so that's kind of is a space that I really like, working with the other guys in ARC. The other band that's just started up again that we did the concert hall recently and at Queensland Performing Arts Centre is The Others, which is a really bizarre group that I put together years ago, and it's just essentially a pure improvisation band with myself, James Morris and Paul Grabowski, and now William Barton has joined us as well. So it's a 4-piece of mad. No one knows what's going to be played. No one knows anything about any structure, and it just happens. And we had the most euphoric show. It was epic, and we're going to be doing a lot more of that here and in Europe and America next year. And that sort of got me back to this space where I was, I used to study music and be a musician and playing music without any lyrical or song concept, purely playing it for the communication and the sound and the space that you create together with other musicians. So that was awesome. And I've been working with a singer called Monty Brando, who is amazing singer. And this is kind of like a Eurythmics vibe where I just wanted to write music and then find a singer that would come up with vocals, and they've just done the most incredible job. So that's sort of this other duo on the boil as well. So, and I'd like to do lots of solo stuff too in the future. So, just want to get this can't wait to get this Spiderbait record and get onto everything else. But yeah, just telling you all this stuff in a row. It just makes me exhausted even thinking about it. But I'm really enjoying it, man. It's thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, those art projects have been phenomenal. I didn't get to see the Zeppelin one with much regret, but I heard nothing but phenomenal things about it, and
Oh,
that's
thanks,
the big
man.
thing. You know, that
We'll
trans
definitely do another Zeppelin show. I just feel like that show is so different than all the others we've done. Just because all four of us are well known for our rock bands that we play, and it was heavy and it was a bit more fucked up and epic. Just seeing Davey and Darren play those guitar parts, and Mark's probably the only bass player in the country who could play John Paul Jones stuff. And Pete, and as I said, for me, just being able to be free as a singer. So yeah, I think we'll definitely do more Zeppelin in the future. As I'm not sure what it'll be, but yeah.
Have you seen this?
But yeah, so the other thing I wanted to say is that Spiderbait's doing a tour of Europe in this year too. We haven't toured internationally for a number of years, so we've been asked by it's actually Amel's agent in Europe who's keen to get us over. So we're going to be doing this big run. I think we're going to UK and France, Germany, and Poland. So it's going to be a bit of a trip. And then I basically fly straight from this heavy metal festival in Poland to the first rehearsal for the Wish You Were Here and go into Pink Floyd mode. So next time I talk to you, I'll probably have lots more exhausting stories to tell. But yeah, we're really pumped. It's going to be sick.
It sounds like fun, and it's amazing that Australian bands still have. Well, I mean, not that we've ever lost it, but we have such a presence in Europe. It's crazy when you look at bands like yourself and bands like Airborne and things like that, who unfortunately, seek a career. Well, their career is overseas, which is really quite sad. But
yeah.
In throwing back to what we're here to talk about today, which is Lookout, this is really refreshing to see an all Aussie lineup that is, very much a Livid or a Big Day Out Australian content, just sort of crammed into an afternoon. No clashes, no conflict, which is great, and it allows fans to focus and see their favourite bands without going, "Geez, I'm going to have to rush across here to see so and so."
Yeah. I think the way they do it, the guys that Lookout, it's very compact, and I noticed that last year as well. It was awesome, just the way that it was put together. I think also that it's a great time of year to be going out and seeing these sort of shows. As I said, Janet actually brought something up on the weekend. The other thing that we did, I think about a year ago, is we got up with Dom Dollar at the My Music Bowl, because he's done this remix of Black Betty, which is just insane. So it's sort of revamped Black Betty all over again, particularly in America. And so we got up to do it with him, and we did it again with him last weekend, and I was super sick. But during that last trip, Janet's like, "Oh, this tour we're doing, it's going to be like Homebake." So it actually reminds me of the old Homebake lineup, And that was a great festival in Sydney back in the day. And I think we did do a tour of that. I think there was one at the Bowl, I think for 1 year. But Homebake in particular, because I remember when that tour first happened, that was like everyone went, is exactly what you just said. It's like, oh, shit, we don't need an American headliner. We've got, people will come and see Australian bands anyway, which is kind of what they used to do in the 80s at those great Thank God It's Over concerts with the Oils and, Australian Crawl and all these other bands. And I can remember going to those gigs with Whit when I was a kid, and being very jealous of him as he was going to boarding school in Melbourne, and he could stay to the end of the gig, but I had to rush off to Spencer Street Station to catch the train back before I went back to school the next day. So, yeah, there's something really cool, I think, not just for the bands, but for the fans and the whole musical community, just to show how strong I guess our music scene is, and I think it has been for a long time.
Absolutely, it can only be a good thing, If I can just ask you, sort of outside of the box, in 2025, I mean, who are your favourite Australian artists?
It's interesting. I know she hasn't released that much in recent times, but I love Ruby Fields. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, And Ruby's just one of those, she's a dear friend of mine as well, but she's just one of those people who gets into my heart. I think she's a world-class songwriter and singer and just an incredible, true artist, you know. I love, it's funny because around the same time as I met Ruby, I also met G Flip, and G's a good mate as well. And I love what G's doing, but so different, like such a, G's just really tripping out, you know, in a major way, which is awesome. Um, but it's funny, like I know there's some bands that have really touched me in the past number of years that maybe aren't playing as much or have broken up. Or I'm hoping one of them is a band called Major Leagues from Brisbane, who I'd love to see get back together because I know those guys as well. I think Jamie's one of the most gifted songwriters in the country, and Blood is amazing, and Anna as well. They're just my daughter's obsessed with their one album too. She plays it all the time, and I'm like, can I get my copy back, please? Because she won't let go of it, you know. But as something also aesthetically, and you'd be able to relate to this better than most people, something about the mystique of the band that you just love and isn't always in your face, that has sort of disappeared, or not disappeared, because I know the girls are all doing their own thing, but there's something about a band coming and then either drifting away for a while, and you always hope that they might come back. And I'd almost go anywhere in the world to see Major Leagues play live if I could. I think the first time I discovered them was when they played with us at a show at the Tivoli, and I was like, you guys are awesome. So, you know, there's lots of amazing bands around. I've seen, I love the chats. Playing with those guys and getting to know them was really great. And sort of, when you get to see a band regularly, when you're playing on the same stage, and then you get to be friends, you got to get inside their headspace a bit, and it actually helps you appreciate the music a bit even more. And just so fast and so such a particular type of playing that I love. I love King Gizzard. I think King Gizzard are one of the greatest bands in the world, and you know, so unique. Their ability to create something unto themselves and then turn it into a wonderfully absurd, brilliant phenomenon that it is. And I just think they're awesome. So, you know, and the list goes on.
Yeah. So I guess out of the lineup for Lookout, who do you have, I guess, the longest standing, you know, relationship with?
Well, you know, I'm dear friends, obviously, with the guys in Jet. I play in Arc with Mark, and I've been close friends with Nick for many years, and he's a sweetheart, and love Cam, and just so happy to see the boys playing again and doing so well, and you know, a really well deserved induction to the Hall of Fame. I think it really took them by surprise, and they just felt really great. I'm sure Chris was the same. So yeah, those guys are great, and you know, we played with Grinspoon for so long. I know that story you told me about your son seeing them, and I think they've had a similar kind of thing with us, where I know Phil's just, it trips them out every time they play that you know, because I think for a long time I'm not sure if they were going to play again. I'm not sure what happened there. But Magic Dirt and Jebediah are such dear friends of ours, and they're probably two of the bands we love playing with the most. On the last tour, when we had Adelaide supporting us for a few shows, she got up with Janet and did a song together, and I'm just like, oh, this is sick. It was just me and we're just standing back playing, but we were like fully fanned out on these two legendary women of our era playing together. So hopefully we'll try and get ads up again. And the same thing with Vanessa in Jebs. And I just love all those guys so much, but always laughed how Vanessa and Janet for years have kept getting mistaken for one another. So maybe we got to get Vanessa on stage or something just to pretend it's Janet for a song. I'm not sure. And also the Veronicas, like I said before, just from the point of view, we've never played with them before. I'm really interested in seeing them and wanting to make them feel welcome as part of the show, as I guess, something a bit different. So the long answer to your question is basically everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, yeah. This festival is going to be one hell of a party on and off stage. So, and I think it celebrates everything that is music. So from a fan's point of view, they'll be obviously elated to see, you know, such a strong lineup. And I think, as you sort of said, you're all friends, and it'll be a great opportunity to catch up and spend some time as well.
Yeah, it almost feels like two shows in one, where we have Jebs and Magic Dirt and us in one, sort of like, that's almost like one festival, and then you've got Veronica's Grinspoon and Jen in another space as well. So to put it all together, it really does make it a party. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm very excited now. I've had this interview. I was excited before, but I'm even more excited after talking to you, man. It's great.
That's my job. That's my job. Excellent stuff. Well, we're out
Thanks,
of
mate.
time, Kram. Really, again, would like to thank you for your time and for joining us here at the Rockpit. I'll see you, I think, at the Torquay show for Lookout, the last one of the run. And
Awesome.
yeah, until then, travel safe, have some great shows, and make some magical memories.
Thanks, man. Rock on in the rock pit, guys. See ya.
No worries. Thanks, mate.